YTBC, what's the deal? Now, if you're a fan of the heavyweight division like myself, December 12th is going to definitely be a date, man, where you're going to have to really focus in on your websites and, watch the fights on TV, live streaming, whatever you got to do. It's going to be some good fights going on. You got Arthur Spilka, Amir Mansour, Dominic Breazeale versus Charles Martin, and Chris Arreola versus Travis Kaufman. They're all going to be on the same card in San Antonio. Omar Figueroa versus Antonio DeMarco also on that card. I'm focused more on the heavyweights. Now, the Arreola-Kaufman fight, Kaufman does have a glossy record. He's 30-0 with one loss, 22 knockouts. I looked at his resume, looked at him on YouTube, not overly impressed. He's a big guy, around 6'3", 250-pound guy. Only name I recognized on his resume was Cliff Kauser, the guy that looks like Mike Tyson, journeyman. Some of you guys may remember him. That's really it, and I looked at his skill level, just not really impressed. This fight is pretty much just to see where Chris Arreola is at. Is Chris Arreola, is he still a guy that can compete against, some of the up-and-coming prospects like a Gerald Washington and Breazeale and Martin and Bryan and Whyte, Parker, all these guys that are coming up, Joshua, or is he's, now he's fighting a journeyman type of guy with a glossy record. We'll see where Arreola's at. He should win this fight by knockout. Also that day going down, you have Anthony Joshua versus Dillian Whyte in the UK. Awesome fight. I seen the presser yesterday. This is going to be explosive, man. This is going to be very explosive. Dillian Whyte seems very confident, and I know he beat him in the amateurs, knocked him down. For some reason, there's like this, I don't know, for some reason, people, they think that Dillian Whyte is like 3 or 4 years older than Joshua. He's only 1 year older. He's only 1 year older than him. So I don't know why people think that for some reason, I'll have to stop people on chat forums like, hey, no, he's only a year older than him. Some people think he has like 5 or 3, 4, 5, 6 years on him for some reason. I'm not sure, but definitely a different Anthony Joshua than I seen in that amateur fight, and I think it's a different Whyte. Some people are saying it's the same Whyte and a different Joshua. I think they're both different. They're both completely different guys. Whyte just loves to fight, man. You can just tell, just listening to his interviews. I've got to pick him apart a little bit and just look at his personality. He just likes to ruffle feathers, man, but he likes to fight. You can tell the dude likes to fight. Joshua's going to, be there to get hit. Joshua doesn't have this excellent defense. I haven't seen, this excellent defense. I've just been seeing a guy that's been fighting downhill for the most part, walking guys down behind the high guard and just 1-2ing them to death and throwing uppercuts, hooks, whatever he wants to do in there, fighting downhill. Same thing with Whyte. Both these guys, they're going to collide in the middle of the ring. I really think that Joshua says he doesn't think Whyte can get on past 3 rounds. He'll be surprised. It's going to be a good fight. It's going to be a really good fight. But I'm glad that this Charles Martin fight has got added to the Spilka and Mansour card December 12th. Breazeale and Martin is going to be a good fight. I think that right now Martin may be the hungrier of the two fighters. I know Breazeale was just in there with Fred Cassie. Fight that I thought was at least a draw, or I gave it to Cassie 6-4. Cassie has been getting some bad decisions in his last few fights. The fight with Breazeale and the fight with Chris Arreola, in my opinion, I thought that Fred Cassie won those fights. But we'll see what Breazeale gets. He's right back in there with Charles Martin, another guy that's hungry. If you look at the BoxRec rankings, they have Charles Martin number 43 overall. They have Breazeale number 38 overall. Trevor Bryan is rated 1 spot ahead of Charles Martin, and Dillian Whyte is rated 1 spot behind him. Breazeale, Jarrell Miller is rated 1 spot ahead of him according to BoxRec, and right behind him is a Deontay Wilder victim, Johan Duhapa. He's rated number 39. You look at the WBC, WBA, IBF, WBO rankings, Dominic Breazeale is not rated in any of the organizations. Charles Martin is rated number 2 by the WBO, number 4 by the IBF, and he's not rated by the BA or the BC. And he has the WBO's NABO title. He's made 6 defenses of it. So right now he may be the hungrier of the two, because with him there's only one place to go if he loses, and that's down. Breazeale's not in any of the 4 organizations' rankings, so a good performance, even if he was to lose, he can still move up. Charles Martin, he's already rated high in the IBF and the WBO, so if he loses, bad turnout or bad draw, I think for him, he's going to move down. Breazeale will move up, his stock will go up. But, you know, when you look at these guys, man, I know some of you are like, you know, Mr. Boxing, you really hype up these heavyweights. It's like the small guys, you know, you guys can have the small dudes, man. It's just too much up and down in weight classes, and guys are saying guys are too big to fight them and too small, and, you know, catch weights. It just gets kind of confusing at sometimes. But, you know, I like the guys like Porter and Thurman and Broner and Crawford and Spence and Chocolatito and Triple G, Pac-Man, Ward, Rigo. I like all those guys. Floyd, Pac-Man, you know, all the small fighters, man, that you guys like to talk about. But I really enjoy the heavyweights, man. You know, you don't have to keep track of much. You know what I'm saying? It's just there's 20 to 30 guys that can, you know, beat each other, in my opinion, on any given night under the right circumstances. So to me, it's all competitive. You know, Jack Johnson, Mike Tyson, Dempsey, Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Holmes, Frazier, Foreman, Marciano, Ezra Charles, whoever you want to bring up from the past, man, they're not walking through the door. You know, we need to just let it go. Those guys aren't coming back walking through the door. But what we have today, you know, one of these guys can be the next Tim Witherspoon or Frank Bruno, you know, Tommy Morrison or something. There still were exciting guys. Jimmy Ellis, you know, there's still exciting guys that there's some exciting fighters today that can make for some exciting fights. You know, I think Glasscock versus Anthony Joshua will be an exciting fight. Joseph Parker versus Brian Jennings, that'd be an exciting fight. Ortiz versus Gerald Washington, that'd be a good fight. Erkin Tepper versus Joseph Parker. I mean, there's so many mixes and matches with the division. You know, I think it's worth watching. You know, now guys like Michael Sprott and the Mentos and Travis Walkers and Malos and Charles Schufferts and those type of guys, man, you know, the journeymen, they're not the most exciting to watch. And some of these guys have to fight those type of guys on their way up. But once they get on their way up, now with Breazeale and Martin, there's no more turning back. You know, there's no more fighting. I don't want to see those guys fight journeymen anymore. There's, like I said, 20 to 30, maybe even 40 guys out there where they can get it in with each other on a consistent basis. And let's see what happens in the next, you know, 2, 3, 4 years. You know, but just my thoughts on the fight, man. Just my thought on what's going to take place December 12th. Some good heavyweight fights, man. Charles Martin, one thing about him, I watch a lot of his fights. The Joey Dawejko, Glenny Hernandez fight, Raphael Love, Morienzo Smith, Tie Up Bill, Anthony Henson. All those fights are on YouTube for you to watch. Larry Ward and Sylvester Barron, I looked up those fights, only got to see highlights. A lot of those fights, man, he beat guys down. The Joey Dawejko and Glendy Hernandez, I think, are his best wins. Pretty much beat Dawejko down, hit him with body shots, just scraping him up. He was too much for him. The size advantage, the quick hands, the power. His left hand is powerful. You know, he's 6'5", you know, 250 pounds, 80-inch reach. 22 wins with 20 knockouts, no losses in the draw. I mean, he does bring power. I tried to look up his draw. It's not on YouTube. He drawed with the guy that was 6'12" 6", Alvaro Morales. It was Martin's 7th pro fight. Now you look at the scorecards from that fight. One judge had it 40-36, and 2 other judges had it 38-38. So I tried to look up the fight. I couldn't find it, and the guy was 302 pounds in that fight. He outweighed Martin by 73 pounds. Martin came in at 229 in that fight. So I don't know. You know, one judge gave them all 4, another 2 had it 2-2. So kind of scratching my head on that scorecard, and you can't find the footage. But the footage that I did see, the fights I did watch, Like the Henson fight, he caught him with a good left cross. That dude got up and he was doing the stinky leg and the cabbage patch and the running man. I mean, he had that dude wobbling all over the place. You know, the Tayet Bill, he hit him with a straight right or a straight left. He really looks for that left hand. You know, Martin, he's a southpaw. He's a big southpaw. Nothing jumps out the screen at me, but he does have good power, good boxing skill. Moves on his feet well. He can fight off his back foot a little. I mean, oh, then in the fight against Bill, he hit him with a right hook, man, a crushing right hook. Almost felt sorry for Bill the way he landed. He just collapsed after that hook. But seen a few of his fights, man. I like what I see, you know. And then, of course, the fights that I seen that only showed his highlights, they just showed him landing left hooks and guys were falling. So it's going to be a tall task trying to just knock Breazeale out like that, being that he's never been knocked out. He's a former Olympian. He can fight a little bit, man. None of these guys do anything, like I said, that jump off the screen at me, but they are big guys. Breazeale's 6'7", 260-pound guy, undefeated, 16 wins, 14 knockouts, 82-inch reach. Cassie and Aguilera showed him different things. They made him work. He couldn't just go in there and bulldoze those guys. They did make him work, and he does show some sign of fatigue. You know, his footwork can get a little scrambled and mix up, but he's a big dude, man. So I don't expect him to have, you know, nimble feet like some of the smaller guys in different weight classes. You know, but some of the fights, some of the guys were no hopers, like the Curtis Tate that was on Showbox. Curtis Tate had no chance, just overmatched. Looked like he didn't even want to fight. He quit in the first round. Just overmatched. There's not even much to go over in that fight. He was just overmatched physically, mentally. He looked like he didn't want to fight. The Francesco guy, I seen him fight. I think that was a Fox. That was on a Fox card. That guy was just so overweight. He looked like the damn Michelin man in there. But again, just overmatched, just with everything, size, skill, pedigree, just everything. So again, this is a step in the right direction for Breazeale. His last time out, though, I thought that he lost or was a draw with Fred Cassie, but he'll get a chance to redeem himself, and it's going to be against a live opponent, another undefeated American. It's going to be a good fight. Breazeale's 30 years old. Charles Martin's 29. December 12th is a date to look out for, man. YTBC. I'm out.